There's a counter on this ball, so try to beat your very best score. See if you can jump a whole lot more.
Number 10, Pogs. Simplicity was the key here.
These are Pogs. They're milk caps. They're Pogs. It's a game. You stack them, and then you whack them.
You stack cardboard milk caps, slam them into the air, and hope your side lands face up. It was so simple. In fact, that it practically took playgrounds by storm in the 90s.
It's a Pog milk cap invasion.
And in the weather.
While the game had existed in some form for over a century, the World Pog Federation ingenious marketing push made it a mainstream hit, for a few years at least. The original Korean version appeared in Netflix viral sensation Squid Game, and Pog itself helped spawn the famous emote Pog Champ. But it still wasn't enough to keep kids playing the game long term. Despite Pog's undeniable legacy, it's clearly a fad that's well past its prime. Number 9, moon shoes. How's that saying go? Shoot for the moon because even if you miss, you'll land among the stars? Well, despite it being in the name, moon shoes never ever made it that far. It's not for a lack of trying though. If you grew up in the 90s or 2000s, you either had these or wanted to.
Gotta get those shoes, it's a necessity.
They were literally trampolines for your feet. What's not to love? Plus, the commercials were everywhere, especially on Nickelodeon. And yet, for some reason, these hot toys couldn't bounce their way to long-lasting relevance.
Look for them in a store near you.
Nickelodeon moon shoes.
There's nothing like them.
After a few years on shelves, people just stopped talking about moon shoes, and the brand's been collecting dust ever since. Number 8, Micronauts. Nowadays, you couldn't buy most of these toys even if you wanted to. Despite building up some worthwhile name recognition in the 70s, manufacturer Mego couldn't sustain Micronauts. They discontinued the line in 1980, and 2 years later, the entire company went under.
All have interchangeable parts. A few changes and Hydrocopter is a paddle boat or a one-man cruiser.
2 decades after that, Palisades Toys swooped in to save the brand from its early grave. But after a rough launch and rougher sales, they soon went the same way as their toy-making predecessor.
Micronauts, made of plastic and die-cast metal, each sold separately by Mego.
The last anyone's seen from Micronauts is a legacy set released in 2016. Obviously, they'd rather appeal to fans they have than make new ones. After everything Micronauts has been through, we can't blame them. Number 7, Pound Puppies. American toy producer Tonka let these dogs out in 1980 and quickly adopted more cash than they knew what to do with.
Come sharing all our cuddling, caring puppy love.
By 1985, Pound Puppies had racked in more than $300 million in sales.
So huggable.
But by 2002, all that fortune had dried up. The pet toy simply couldn't evolve fast enough for the ever-growing market, and soon became a has-been instead of a trailblazer. To be fair, 2002 was a rough year for pet-themed toys on the whole. For example, the techno-based Puppies didn't make it to 2003 either. Pound Puppies was later relaunched with modest success, but it's still a far from the toy's popularity in the 80s.
Sometimes the hardest thing about giving them
Happy Valentine's Day
is giving them up.
Pound puppy, you're my one and only puppy love.
Number 6, Tamagotchi. In the decades since, no toy has ever captured the debilitating stress of raising a pet quite like the Tamagotchi. After all, these virtual companions ate, pooped, slept, and most terrifying of all, died.
You have to look after it as you would a normal pet. For instance, there's different icons on the screen that you have to cater for. At the moment, you can see Tamagotchi telling me it wants, as it's only young, it wants a nap. There's the Z is coming up. It's also, unfortunately, Mark, this one has done a great big steaming virtual poo. It's not too good.
Altogether, this was the rare game that appealed to everyone. But with that demand came a whole lot of competition.
Look, Goldie, I took good care of her, and she changed again.
Change? How about changing some water here?
These days, smartphones and video games have pretty much rendered the Tamagotchi obsolete. and they have the low sales to prove it. For what it's worth, new Tamagotchis still come out on a semi-regular basis, but it's obvious this toy isn't what it used to be, and no amount of celebrity endorsements can convince us otherwise.
Tamagotchi unique.
Number 5, Talkboy. One of the hottest toys in the 90s didn't actually originate from a toy factory. It came from a movie, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, to be specific.
Guests of the new celebrity Ding Dang Dong stay at the world-renowned Plaza Hotel, New York's most exciting hotel experience.
The Talkboy was essentially just a cassette player with a few vocal modifiers on top. But thanks to a big screen push by Kevin McAllister, it went down as one of the best-selling toys of the decade.
Stop drooling on me. Stop drooling on me.
Unfortunately, that's also when its good fortune ended. The internet gave kids a million other places to get their voice changing fix, sending the Talkboy to a quick death end in 1999.
Hi kids, we're home early.
Hi kids, we're home early.
Unless Home Alone 2 gets a remake, odds are the Talkboy has recorded its last message. Number 4, hit clips. Back before iPods, smartphones, and Spotify, there was Hit Clips.
Hit Clips is a slick micro audio system. This tight package is small, pumps out monster sound.
Like its name implies, it was a portable speaker of sorts that clipped onto your backpack for music on the go. But instead of an 8-track tape like the old school pocket rockers, Hit Clips used proprietary song cartridges. Oh, and they only played 60 seconds at a time too. Yeah, in hindsight, it wasn't very glamorous, but in the early 2000s, it was a must-have for jam sessions in between classes. Still, given the boon of portable smart devices, it's really no surprise that neither Hit Clips or pocket rockers made it very far. If any kid still uses these today, it's purely for the irony. Number 3, Skip It. In a nutshell, a Skip It is just a ball with some string attached. And yet, that didn't stop it from becoming the cul-de-sac resident ankle bruiser for generations.
But the very best thing of all, there's a counter on this ball. So try to beat your very best score. See if you can jump a whole lot more.
The intuitive gameplay kept Skip Its on store shelves well into the 2000s. But there's only so many times you can jump over a spinning ball.
Skip it, sounds like fun. Faster, faster, everyone.
Eventually, sales dropped and then dropped some more and then dropped again. Soon enough, the toy quietly bowed out of the mainstream altogether.
Skip it is crystal clear. Here's the twist, skip it, it'll blow you away. It's a hot new way to play.
Ironically, the similarly titled Bop It is facing the same issue. It's not quite as far gone as the Skip It, but either way, the fact of the matter is that kids just aren't buying these toys like they used to. Number 2, Sky Dancers. With faith, trust, and a whole lot of catchy commercials, Sky Dancers spun their way to the top of every 90s kid's Christmas list.
Wow, they really fly!
But don't go rushing to the store for one. There's a very good reason these spinning dolls fell off. As some kids learned the hard way, the Sky Dancers' wings weren't just pretty, they were dangerous. Especially when they spun into the faces of unsuspecting children.
Just pull her magical string and her pretty wings spin round.
After over 100 reported injuries, the first line of Sky Dancers had to be recalled entirely.
But now it's time to fly. Up, up, up!
They tried to twirl their way back into kids' good graces in 2004, but they failed to catch on. Given their history, that might be for the best. Number 1, Furbies. It's hard to explain why Furbies were so popular. Maybe it was the cuddly design, maybe it was that it could talk, or maybe it just came out at the right place at the right time. Whatever the reason, Furbies broke into pop culture like few toys ever have. We're talking millions of units sold within the first few years alone. So it's even more surprising to see how little staying power they had.
I love you.
Furbies are still being made today, and with plenty of worthwhile updates too. But for some reason, the hype has long since come and gone. There's a chance Furbies get a second win, but until that happens, these toys are more like collector's items.
Absolutely.
Did these toys ring any bells for you? Be sure to let us know in the comments down below.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.